Day 5 of Longmont Startup Week 2021. We're just so glad to see you again this morning. I'll take a few minutes to reflect on yesterday. If you had the opportunity to join us, this will be sort of complementary to that. And then if you haven't, this will also sort of help you come into today and our topic. So we're talking about RAIN, an acronym, recognize, allow, inquiry, and nourish, and we're on N today. But I want to go back just for a second on inquiry from yesterday. And we talked a good bit about questions. And I thought I would offer this morning, as we spend this time together, this question that has really helped me quite a lot in that inquiry part of the practice. And the question is this: is it true? So one of the things you'll begin to notice as you practice is with all of us have a lot of mind activity, right? And as the mind starts bringing things up for you to consider in inquiry, it's great to ask yourself if it's true. And what I've learned and know from talking to other people and studying practice is that just because the mind came up with the thought, it doesn't necessarily make it true, right? And in some ways, when I remember to ask myself this question, is it true? There's actually some humor that I'll see. Like, I'll chuckle to myself and be like, of course it's not true. It's just me embellishing a situation, right? And I couldn't possibly know that to be true. It's kind of what I'm telling myself about what's going on. So as you continue to practice an inquiry, consider this question and see if it works for you, to sort of call yourself into a deeper level of inquiry. Is this true? Is this thought I'm having true? And then see if you can connect with your body and your emotions to help the mind come up with something that might feel more resonant and actually just a little more true. So let's practice together. We're going to take a little bit longer this morning in this start of practice, and then we'll practice again at the end. We're going to take a little bit more time here to practice together. And if you were with us yesterday, this will sound familiar, so it'll land back where we've been already. And if you weren't, then you have an opportunity to practice how we ended our day yesterday together. So begin to just come into your body, just shifting from an external awareness to more of a body awareness and an inner awareness. And you can check in with your posture. Make sure you have a good, comfortable posture. You have a sense of uprightness, but also a sense of relaxation in your posture. And we'll practice with our hands, feet, and seat here. We have the most sensation available to us in our hand, in the bottom of our hands and feet. So it's a great practice area. So begin now to draw your attention to your hands, and it's helpful to have them resting on your thighs. And just draw your attention and your awareness to the palms of your hands resting on your thighs or any surface they may be on. And just taking a moment to notice any sensation in the palms of your hands. No need to move them around to actually sense the surface of your hands resting on your thighs. And see if you can actually feel the surface that they're resting on, and is it smooth or rough? As you focus your attention, you may notice there could be some tingling in your hands. See if you can notice any quality of temperature. warm or hot, cool or cold. Just rest your awareness in the palms of your hands. And now we'll shift to our feet. Same practice here, bottoms of your feet, noticing any sensation, quality of temperature. We're working with our minds here to draw our focus and our attention to something specific. Asking the mind to pay attention in a particular way. If you have shoes or socks on, see if you can actually notice the sensation of the socks or the shoes. Now bring your awareness to your seat, resting on a chair if it is. If you're lying down, the surface you're lying down on. And what sensations are there? Is the surface that your seat is on rigid and hard, or more soft, cushiony? And we'll transition from this body awareness practice to the questions we worked with yesterday from La Sarmiento. And asking ourselves these questions. Right now, am I feeling connected or disconnected? Am I feeling empowered or disempowered? Is my heart open or closed? And am I experiencing suffering or freedom in this moment? Now what I'd like you to do, if you would like to practice in this way, is place your hand where you consider your heart. I put it up sort of high on my chest like this with my palm flat against my chest, and see if there's anything different that happens as I offer these questions again. With your hand on your heart. Right now, am I feeling connected or disconnected? Am I feeling empowered or disempowered? Is my heart open or closed? Am I experiencing suffering or freedom? And as we prepare to drop this practice, just take a moment to notice your body breathing, the natural breath, with your hand resting still on your heart area. One more breath in and out. And as you're ready, you can drop that practice. So I wanted to just mention again the book that I'm really focusing a lot of the content here from is Tara Brach's book, Radical Compassion, and that's her most recent book. And yesterday I talked about, I've chosen a different word for the I of RAIN, inquiry. And in Tara's book, she uses investigate. And she uses a different word also for N. She uses nurture. And for me, what resonates a bit more is nourish. So I'm sharing that as a way for you to think about these practices have a quality of allowing you to bring what works best for you. But there also is a sense of a container with the practices, right? We don't want to get too far out making up our own sort of practices if we don't have experience with that. So we can create some of our own nuanced way to work with these practices, though. And I so appreciate Tara and her work and the way she expresses this so well is find what works best for you, because that's what's going to help you have a better experience. So we'll be working with the N as nourish this morning. Both nurture and nourish are really focused on the idea of care and really tending to our experience. There is quite a large body of work on self-compassion and self-care, and folks like Christine Neff and Rick Hansen have really a large body of information on self-care and the practices of self-care. So what we're going to do today is practice very, very briefly with the time we have available, but I want to say this, that, you know, this idea of self-care is not one that we culturally really learn. If you think about social learning theory, we're not really in a culture of talking about self-care, and we'll talk a bit about that this morning together. So this may be kind of a new idea and a new way to practice. So I go back again and again to this illustration for Nourish, and if you've traveled in air travel, which many of us haven't done that much in the last year and a half or so, but think about when you were on an airplane the last time, and the flight attendants, right, before takeoff, they always arrive and they do the things that we kind of chuckle at, right, of exits, front and left and down. And usually they end with what to do when the mask falls down if the airplane decompresses. And the instruction is always the same. Place your mask on first before helping other passengers. So in Nourish, that's really what we're talking about, is how we tend to ourself first before we move out into the world and the people that we care about and external ways that we're caring for things. So when we forget to put our mask on first, oftentimes we'll figure that out somewhere down the line where we start to feel depleted and overwhelmed and burned out because all of us have really busy lives. And I feel like right now, still in this pandemic, and being, more than 15 months into this, the level of exhaustion I hear people expressing is something I've never experienced in my lifetime. And maybe that's kind of how you're thinking about it too. So this idea of self-care is so important to embrace and understand more deeply of how do we care for ourselves so that we can be in best relationship to all of the experiences that we're having. So being in good relationship with ourselves means we need to tend ourselves and take care of ourselves. So more recently, my day job is CEO of a local company here, and more recently I've come into a new awareness around self-care, because a big part of self-care is knowing how to ask for what you need. And in businesses and organizations, there's a lot of activity and practice around psychological safety, right? Environments being safe enough to express what you're thinking. Speak up culture is something that's really emerging as an important way for us to be effective in our business lives. And a number of weeks ago, I had this big aha, because we practice these in the organization that I lead, is how do we get more speak-up culture, and how do we get more voices, right? Because we value all voices. And it really dawned on me that we're asking folks at work to do things that they may have never done in their actual lives, their personal lives. And they may not have the support outside of a work environment in their home or community in order to know how to express what they need. So I think these practices continue over and over again to show up for me as sort of the heart and center of what we need in our human experience now, as I think we have all been challenged in ways that have surprised us and created a sense of burnout and exhaustion. So back again to how do we get our own mask on, and what would it even mean once we do that to start to tend our own experience, to then express what we need, right? This is what I need. So it's a really great way to think about all these concepts and ideas. Speak up culture, all voices matter, really require each individual to be able to be in direct relationship with that, right? To actually develop the capability in ourselves to express what we need. So we'll work with this in the practice we'll do together here in a minute, but in order to frame this, I wanted to make one more point about asking for what we need. These can be new ways of thinking and being. So I know for me, when anything I try that I've not done before, it's best to do it in small bite sizes, right? Like if you go to the gym when you haven't worked out for a really long time, and you don't take a sort of bite size workout, you're going to get stiff, and it's going to be hard to, you're going to get really sore. So what we're working with here in this practice is just small moments of practice. Now, an analogy here that helps me is I'm a gardener, and many years ago, I heard a master gardener share this principle around gardening and keeping your garden tended. And the idea is around if you don't want weeds in your garden, the best practice is to spend about 10 minutes a day weeding. 10 minutes a day weeding in your garden is much more valuable to an effort to keep weeds out than if you tend the weeds for a whole hour once a week. So these longer, intensive ideas of how to create what we're looking for tend to be less fruitful than the pauses. So here we'll practice now. We'll shift our attention to practice. And what I'd like to do is ask you to place your hand back on your heart, if that's comfortable for you. And I'd just like for you to entertain this question. What do I need most right now? And if when you ask yourself that question, you don't have an answer, that's perfectly fine. And see if when I offer this question to you again, you can have an idea of how we'll leave our time together, of one small thing you can do for yourself right after we're done, right when we end. What's one thing you can do in answer to this question? What do I need most right now? Take a moment again to find your body breathing its natural breath. And one last time, you have your hand still on your heart. This question: what do I need most right now. And if nothing's coming up, see if you can visit that question again throughout the day. So we can drop that practice together. What I'd like for you to do, we've been practicing with our phones, so this will be the third practice. One practice is to pick the phone up and then just to sort of soften a little bit. The other is to pick your phone up and then actually set it down for a second and then pick it right back up. And today, because we're so in relationship to our phone, as you pick your phone up, see if you can remember to ask yourself the question we were just working with. So this is anchoring our practice in our everyday life. Picking up the phone, we do it so many times. And whether you set the phone down or not, simply asking the question, what do I most need right now? And then see if it moves you to do something different. You might need most right now to tend to what's on your phone, but see if there's something else that comes up. So this is the conclusion of our time together. It has been such an honor for me to spend this time with you each morning. My deepest hope is that you carry with you some nuggets and awareness that will help sustain you, that will help you live more fully into all of your life experiences. So keep practicing and stay well. May you be well, my friends. May you be happy and may you be filled with joy. I hope you have a wonderful day.